Welcome back to the Garza Gaming Channel. Today we're checking out the new Loki remake, or the new update that's coming in October 6th. Now, Loki is totally getting revamped, so I mean, are these changes going to be good? Are they going to be bad? I don't know, but we're about to find out. Let's get into it. So here we go with our Loki update video. But before we get too far into this video, if you're new to your channel, please subscribe and turn on those notifications. We intend to put out videos every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but sometimes we throw out videos throughout the week. So make sure you have those notifications turned on so you get notified if we do. And don't forget, if you're looking to upgrade your gaming gear anytime soon or purchase anything from the Smite store, we're also Amazon and high-res affiliates. And we have our affiliate links in the description of each of our videos. Where you use our links to purchase anything from Amazon or high-res, we actually get a small commission at no additional charge to you, and it goes a long way to helping the channel. We really appreciate that. And our merch store is now live on our website, and a link to that is also in the description of this video. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into this Loki update video. Now, Loki is getting revamped, as we saw. You know, everybody's seen that same Twitch video going, viral around YouTube. But I wanted to take a step further. Now, I watched that video too that the guys from Hi-Res did on Twitch, and every other YouTuber in the world that keeps broadcasting the same stuff. But I actually had some more questions after I watched that video. So what I did is I actually did a deep dive into the Loki builds, or the new Loki changes, and actually brought out some information that I'd like to share with you that I think is pretty important, and some of the things that might have not been covered in other YouTubers coverage of this, right? So okay, so the first thing is, the biggest thing of course is October 6th is when actually this patch is going live. So the Trickster update's coming October 6th. So the first change is going to be to his just basic attack, right? So initially what happened is, as we all know, Loki had a chain, a 5-hit chain basic attack. So he would hit with his first hit that would do 0.75 damage, and then it'd go 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then would hit for a 1.5. So a total of 5 hits. The first one starting at 0.75, the rest going at half a point into a 1.5% damage. So with this new update, they're actually going to change it and add 25% to the initial hit. So you're going to have a full 1% hit with the, or a full 100% hit with the first attack, and then it's going to go into a 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then on the fifth one is going to end up at 1.5. So you're going to get 25% more damage on that initial hit, which is pretty cool, because sometimes you go in there and you only get maybe 1 or 2 hits before you have to get the heck out of there before you get focused. So that should help out dramatically. Now, another change that's going to come into effect is going to be his behind you, right? So his behind you was the additional 20% damage that Loki got if you actually attacked enemies from behind. So Loki's still going to keep this passive, but it's going to get expanded into 2 of his new attacks. So now he's going to have an attack that's called Agonizing Visions, and then he's going to have another one that's called Flurry Strikes that we're going to learn more about in this video. But this behind you is actually going to be able to be triggered by those 2 new attacks. So, and the best part about it is you will not have to be behind the enemy if it's triggered via the 2 new attacks. So we'll talk more about that throughout this video. So that's going to be a pretty good change. Now, another big change that's coming is the fact it's going to be into his going into stealth, right? Because right now what happens is when you hit the stealth for Loki, or his 1, he automatically goes into stealth, instantly. So what's going to end up happening now, instead of going instantly, he's going to have like a gradual dissolve look, almost like going into smoke, a little slow, not too slow. So it's not going to be instant. It's going to be like a fade into it. So yeah, so it's not going to be, at the flip, there's going to be some delay in there. So you're going to have to be very mindful of that. So right here in the old one, it said Loki disappeared in a puff of smoke. Now, there will be a puff of smoke, but he just turns into a shadow first before he goes invisible. And then while he's invisible, he moves faster and removes any slow effects and gains immunity to any additional new slow effects. And his next basic attack, when he comes out of stealth, or within 2 seconds of him coming out of stealth, actually puts a bleed on the enemy for a zero point 0.5 of a second. And, and what it does is it does tick damage. So what ends up happening is you get a bleed for either 30, 45, 60, 75, or 90, depending on your level of Loki, plus 25% of his power. Now remember, you'll have up to 2 seconds coming out of stealth in order to hit somebody to initiate that bleed. And that's no different than what he does now. He actually has that now coming out of stealth. Now, obviously, the stealth duration is going to stay the same. It's going to be 4 seconds, and his movement is going to be the same, 35% while he's in stealth. And the cooldown basic with no cooldown reduction is going to be 15 seconds. All right, so now one of the big changes we're going to have is Loki will now, like I said, will fade into stealth instead of going instantly. Now, and a big one is whereas now if Loki takes damage, you see like the little damage numbers over his head, but he doesn't really become visible. So while if you actually get lucky and hit Loki, you're able to identify that you did hit him by hitting the numbers, but you can't really tell which direction he's going. So with this new update, what's going to end up happening is if you hit Loki while he's invis for 0.33 of a second, he's going to be visible, kind of like a shadow. So you'll be able to see an outline of him, so you can more or less see what direction he's moving in. So that's going to be huge for trying to anticipate where a stealth Loki is going in order to attempt to kill him while he's stealth. And another big thing is the enemy Loki. So what they ended up doing is they tried to make his stealth quieter to your allies. So if there's 2 Lokis out there, sometimes it gets confusing because you hear that Loki and you're like, oh man, is it my Loki or their Loki, right? So what they do is the audio tones for your teammate Loki is going to be a lot quieter, whereas the opposition Loki is going to be louder. And I believe that the laughter and all the components is going to be remaining the same. So I tell you what, let's take a look at this, because talking in words is one thing, but seeing is believing, right? So let's take a look at this new stealth. Okay, so let's check out his vanish. As you see, he just poofs into puffs of smoke. He doesn't instantly go invis like before. Now, another thing is when you take damage now, instead of having those numbers at the top, you're actually going to see a shadow come up just for a split second, as you see right here. Every time he gets hit, you see just like an outline of him just for 0.33 of a second. Let me see it one more time. There you go. And what that's going to do is, before where you actually seen the numbers pop on top of Loki, this is going to give you a better idea of what direction he's running in, right? Because before it's a little bit hard to tell in the direction he was running just by those numbers, but now every time he takes damage, you can at least see that outline on him. So it's going to make him a lot easier to hit when he goes stealth. So you can see that stealth, it's a little bit different. Do I like it? Don't like it? I don't know. It's yet to be seen if this is going to hurt Loki players or not, or isn't even going to matter. I think as an anti-Loki player, is definitely going to help me to pretty much anticipate which way he's moving, to be able to maybe throw an AoE in that direction to try to kill him. But his next attack that I want to talk about is one of his new attacks. So what they ended up doing is they actually took that decoy out of the game completely. And that was when, that Loki's that dance like a piñata in the middle of nowhere that used to attract minions and then explode. They actually took that out of the game, and then they replaced it with a new AoE type attack that's called Agonizing Visions. So what Agonizing Vision does is Loki summons a vision of his tortured past, right? Where he's bound and just laying sitting on his knees and looking up, and there's like poison dripping to his face. So what this does is it puts an AoE around him for about 4 seconds, and the enemies within that range, what happens is they end up taking stacks. So take a little bit of damage with the stacks. They take 13, 18, 23, 28, and 33 points of damage. But they start getting stacks. And once they get up to 4 stacks, what ends up happening is the enemy goes blind. Now, it's not 100% blind, but it's enough to hinder your eyesight enough where you might not be able to see what's going on around you, especially in a real complex team fight. And it also gives you a debuff. So it puts a debuff on the enemy, and it allows them to do 5% less damage for 2.5 seconds. So, and then another thing that you need to understand too is that this AoE, when you see that Loki in the middle, that Loki that's in the middle can actually body block the enemy. So it's almost like an Ontar's tower where he has that quicksand around him. It's pretty much the same concept on this. But you know what? Let's take a look at this new AoE. Okay, so let's check out Agonizing Vision. So for Agonizing Vision, what it is Loki does this little circle type AoE. So almost like an Onthar, the pole in the middle, that actual Loki in the middle is supposed to be able to body block enemies. So keep that in mind. So what happens is he puts down this AoE of tortured Loki with poison going through his face, right? And it actually dots on the enemy. So for every 4 dots that the enemy takes, you actually are able to use behind me on the enemy. Once they get 4 stacks from any direction. You don't have to be behind them. So that's going to increase your damage dramatically. Now, keep in mind, too, when the enemy gets a dot, they also get debuff. They'll end up doing less than 5% or 5% less damage. This right here is what you're going to see, what the enemy's going to see when they get with the poison in their eyes and they get blinded. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty OP. So you can see that AoE is pretty sick, man. I mean, just that blinding portion, well, the fact that you can use behind you in conjunction with it, man, that's going to be like ridiculous damage. I can very easily see Loki doing over 30k player damage with all these new bells and whistles that he's getting, right? So let's talk about his next new ability, which is called Flurry Strikes. So what Flurry Strikes is, they ended up taking that his buff attack that he had before, or his aim strike, and they removed it out of the game just like they did the decoy, and they ended up getting Flurry Strikes. So what Flurry Strikes is a fan aimed attack, almost like a nemesis, where he actually swings 5 quick flurry attacks and then does 1 large cleave. Now, the cool thing about this is it's kind of like a small AoE. It's a fan-directed attack, and you don't have to be like right on the enemy in order to connect or to do damage. You got up to 20 paces or yards or 20 units, I should say, to do this damage. And like I said, it's a fan-focused type damage. Now, what's up happened is Loki unleashes a flurry of 5 daggers that strikes real quickly, like I said, in front of him, damaging the enemies. After the flurry winds up, he then does a final heavy type strike that deals higher damage than the initial little flurries, and actually goes into a slow, so it slows the enemies that it hits. So it can hit more than 1 enemy, and it slows them. So that's pretty significant right there, or snares them. Now, the best part about that is that this attack also benefits from the behind you passive. So while you're doing those flurry attacks, you're also doing that additional 20% damage, and you do not have to be behind the enemy to do it. You can do it right there in front of his face. So that is going to be huge to put some more damage in there for Loki, and to put some bigger numbers on the board with that. So the flurry damage does 15, 25, 35, 45, and 55 depending on your level. Base damage plus an additional 50% of your physical power damage, right? So the final blow, though, does 40, 65, 90, 115, and 140, in addition to 60% of your physical power. So if you can get those 5 flurries and actually connect with that last hard attack or the hard cleave, that's probably gonna put a dent in somebody for real. That's gonna probably, especially if you have a high crit Loki or a high damage Loki, that's gonna probably put some good numbers up for him. Now the slow does a 30% slow for 3 seconds, which is huge. But yeah, let's check out this flurry attack in real life. Okay, so now let's take a look at Loki's Flurry Attack, right? So it's a cone-shaped type of attack, as you can see here, and it can hit more than 1 enemy at a time. So what happens is Loki does 5 quick slashes within this cone shape, up to 20 meters or yards or feet, or however they want to do the measurement on it, but up to 20 yards for lack of a better measurement, right? So what ends up happening is he does the quick 5 slashes, and then the last one he does an actual hard hit, which I believe does a 30% slow. Now keep in mind also that when you're doing your flurry attack, it also triggers your behind me 20% damage bonus, and that is done from any direction. You can do it from the front, from the side, it doesn't matter, as you can see here. You know, that flurry attack, it just triggers it from any direction. So that's going to be pretty OP to put some more damage on the board for this guy. I mean, you mix that with his agonizing AoE, in addition with that flurry attack, I think that's going to be a pretty good punch for Loki. One that, you know, I don't think he had before. So yeah, I think that's going to make Loki pretty OP. So finally we get to Loki's ult, or his assassinate, right? So they totally redid his assassinate. His assassinate now is a 2-stage type of attack. So the initial attack, Loki jumps in on an enemy and does a crippling damage, right? And as soon as he lands and does that cripple damage, he jumps up again and then does a small fan AoE again damage, which ends up in a stun. So it's a 2-part double damage. Damage on the initial hit, one person, jump up, fan attack can possibly hit multiple targets. Now the cool part about this is when you jump in the initial hit and you go get ready to do that second one, you actually have a small window of opportunity to actually be able to aim that ult. So it's like if you see somebody that's running that's almost dead, you jump on them, kill them, and if one of their teammates just happens to be behind them and turns at you to try to come at you, you can actually, as soon as you assassinate with the cripple the enemy player, you can actually turn to their teammate and actually do damage to them also and kill them, or do damage, stun them, and allow you time to get the heck out of dodge, or maybe go into stealth and actually escape that assassination. Well, that's going to be freaking huge for Loki, because we all know sometimes you go in and do that ult and you get your kill, but as soon as you get done with that kill, you're a sit and duck and the rest of the team just jumps in on you. Now the cool part, like I said again, that second part is a fan attack. So there's multiple enemies and you face them and get them into that fan attack. You actually stun multiple targets. It's not just a single target based attack, at least not the second portion of it. So that is humongous for Loki. Now the crippling damage does 70, 105, 140, 175, 210, in addition to 35% of his physical item power, right? So that's pretty good for that initial hit. But then it goes one step further and with a heavy damage and does 100, 145, 190, 235, and 280. Now remember, this is not a single point. This is a small AoE fan plus 90% of your physical power. So 280 plus that 90%, in addition to a 1 second stun. So yeah, that's going to be pretty significant to say the least. And it says that this ability has kept the teleport proof and warning sounds, in addition to new sounds that convey the build up to the actual stun attack. And they're going to do that in order to give people at least a chance to be able to pop their ages. But you know what? Seeing is believing. So hey, let's check out this new ult. Okay, so now let's look at Loki's ult, or his assassination, right? It's actually a 2-step ult. So the first portion of it, he'll jump in like normal, he'll teleport in, but when he lands, he'll do crippling damage. Then he'll jump back up and do a cone-shaped cleave type damage that not only does damage to more than one enemy, but it can also stun more than one enemy. So you can see there, he did the first one, and he goes up and do the second one. There you go. First jump, goes into a cleave in the second one. Now, what's so beneficial about this ult, and I think that's going to make this ult even better than the last one, is the simple fact that when you get the initial jump in, you do damage, but then you have a small window where you can actually aim the second part of that attack, that cleave into that stun. So in those situations where you have more than one enemy in there, you can actually go in, get that final kill, and then face another enemy that might be coming at you to get that stun in, allowing you time to get the heck out of dodge and go into stealth. So I think that's going to be pretty beneficial and allow Loki a little bit more survivability that he didn't have with his Oh, lol. So that's the new Loki update. So what do you think? Do you think Loki's now going to be OP, or is he going to be a dud? I think he's going to be pretty OP. I don't know. I see some, yeah, I think that nerf hammer is probably going to hit him pretty hard. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I can tell you what, I think I like this kit a heck of a lot better than I like his current kit. So, I'm pretty, I'm actually pretty excited to see how this turns out. And I'm definitely going to try to play him to see how I feel, playing him again. Because that's the thing I had with Loki. Loki used to be a very fun character to play. But over the years, he kept on getting nerfed. And now with today's CC in Arena, you have to be a very experienced Loki player in order to actually enjoy him. Because I'm telling you, Loki is not an easy character to play in Arena with today's CC. But hey, what do you think? Hey, put it down in the comments down below. Do you like those new changes or do you hate them? Or it's just yet to be seen, right? As soon as a PTS server comes out, I might check it out. But yeah, that's the new Loki update. So again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and turn on those notifications. I'm Darkgarza, Yogi on the GGC. See you next time.